This is part 3 of Liberty Evolution Radio, episode 2. In this segment, we will be talking about solutions for a free society, giving you our take on the debt ceiling and the White House's threats to cut grandma's Social Security checks. And we will be also giving our opinions on potential presidential candidates for 2012. Okay, let's start with solutions for a free society. Many people do not understand what liberty is. When you say things such as abolish the TSA or the FDA or whatever, they think to an extreme manner there will be no security at the airports, anybody can get on a plane, when the solution really lies with a free market mindset. Think of this as a business. If a company was doing things that the general population saw as wrong, the people would not go there. They would not spend their money. They would not fly, for example. And that would lead for industry to change its actions. There could be private security firms handling the actions that the TSA currently holds. Even if the TSA still existed, if there was a free market mindset, they would be held accountable. That is just not how it works, though. So when people think in extreme manners, they will not understand what liberty is. It is important to stress alternatives.
Right, the thing is that what the TSA does is they prevent terrorists from attacking airplanes, but the airplanes could be property owned by a private enterprise who has a vested interest in the survival of their aircraft and would do anything they can to prevent terrorists from blowing up their aircraft and having to pay a bunch of liability. If an aircraft does explode, it's not going to matter whether the TSA was there or not. There's going to be security at airports. It's just the public, and the public needs to have checks and balances on what occurs there based on what airplane they get on and what airplane they don't get on, because when it's all a central bureaucratic authority that is ruled by a very few down to the very many individuals who execute the orders, the person who goes to the airplane has to deal with that no matter what. There's no choice in what level of security you want at your airport, and I'm certain that there are a lot of people who own private aircraft who would fly commercial if it was more accommodating, and the state prevents it from being accommodating, and those people would consent to whatever searches they need to get on those aircraft and pay whatever they need to get on those aircraft, all the way down to the cheapest seat you can get on an airplane to the best security. The market can find better solutions than the state can.
And Ron Paul's argument, and forgive me if someone thinks of his argument as different, but to me, he has said that 9/11 possibly could have been prevented if private industry handled security. People don't understand this, and it's easy for them to think an extreme viewpoint if it is termed as, private citizens would be allowed to possess firearms on aircrafts, because they think, everybody on the airplane, including the terrorist, could have a gun. That is not it. We are speaking of staffing of the airline on the airplane. Do you really think if there was a security officer or even law enforcement officer on board armed that a box cutter could take down the whole airline? I don't think so. But people think in extreme manners, and we need to have an intent to educate that no, it's not all or nothing either way.
Right, because with the central state control, you get nothing, honestly. You don't get as much security as you think you do. When you give up your liberty for security, you lose both. And that's just the thing, is that people say, oh, if you abolish the EPA, everyone's going to be dumping their toxic waste in the rivers. Well, look at yourself and say, would I dump my used oil into the river right now with your level of consciousness about the environment? And no, you wouldn't. Of course, there's some people that would, and they'll do that now anyways, regardless of if the EPA exists. And the thing is that that enterprise, the oil changing company or the power plant, their customers need to be informed about what activities they're engaged in, and that can happen without a central bureaucracy controlling every environmental choice and putting limitations and regulations on arbitrary things that prevent production. Individual states should be able to decide their own environmental policy, and people can live in those states whether they want to or not, and other states can have controls over the other states and their regions through trade, and I can see no extreme example of our ecology being destroyed if the EPA ceases to exist and we put those powers on individuals, the markets, and the states.
When the federal government gives you an ultimatum saying we need these programs such as TSA, or we need to raise the debt ceiling instantly, they are just flexing their power. Now they are saying that checks for Social Security won't be cut if we don't raise the debt ceiling, if Republicans don't cave, but they won't stop spending. There is no other way, there's no other portion of the budget they can cut besides Social Security. There's all these things we talk about that the federal government is involved with, from the gun running to the pork barrel TSA. There's nothing that can be cut. I mean, they make executive pay. Think of how much money is wasted, but there's the first thing. When we're about to hit the brink of the debt ceiling, when we're about to hit a financial ruin, you and your family will be the first to suffer. We will stop cutting your checks. Think about what the president is saying. Think about the power that they are flexing. They don't have that power. I mean, technically we are allowing them to have that power, but
Exactly.
Really? Is that the first thing to cut? Social Security? That is a threat, Mr. President.
Right. By giving the government the sole power to feed you and care for your house and everything, then they can make you do whatever they want. You're going to bend to the state's authority. Is it too much to ask that we could have a private pension plan for each American? I mean, how much money do you waste on cigarettes or buying video games or eating at McDonald's or the expense of gas and so many things that you could set aside $10 each week and put it into a little account, or $100 or $50, whatever amount you want, or that amount could be set by whatever company you choose to have your pension plan, and I assure you it would be more secure than Social Security, a system which is robbed by the federal government, because what you pay in Social Security goes into a general fund, and they just essentially print dollars to give you to live off of, so that you have your undying allegiance to them. And the same type of effect is with the military-industrial complex. Supposedly, you depend on them for the survival of America, and we can have an adequate defense and have the ability to destroy any country which would threaten our sovereignty, but the fact of the matter is that is not happening right now. What is destroying our sovereignty is the growing supremacy of autocratic countries due to our economic and foreign policies. So think twice before you're willing to give up 63% of the yearly budget to defense when we aren't really defending anything at all.